Hello everyone. My name is Lee Henson, President and CEO of AgileDad. Today, we are here to discuss powerful and accurate Agile estimation, the key to project predictability. When you hear the word Agile, what is the first thought, image, or word that comes to mind? For myself, the first picture I see is Chinese acrobats, the ultimate in flexibility and poise. The first words one may think include fast, nimble, or quick. In the dictionary, Agile is defined as marked by an ability to think quickly, being mentally acute or aware. She's 95 and still very agile. While all of these make for great definitions, they were not the perfect answer I was seeking. I turned to a few thought leaders at the Agile conference and challenged them to define Agile in 10 words or less. My two favorites included, Agile means doing the right thing quickly, making great choices. The second was not being afraid to fail in order to achieve the desired outcome. The only thing worse than making a bad decision early is making no decision at all. In order to even consider an Agile implementation in your organization, 4 pillars must first be in place. The first pillar is culture. Culture refers to the internal culture of your organization and the culture of the people who make up that organization and help it to be successful. The second pillar is organization. Organization refers to how well your organization assembles clearly defined, cross-functional, small teams that swarm together like a hive of bees to solve a complex problem. Agile organizations focus on keeping teams together and better aligning the work in such a way that the teams can complete it quickly and accurately, thereby producing the right outcome. Process is the third pillar. Process refers to the acceptance and adoption of the Agile process as part of your project management solution toolkit. We need to make certain Agile is indeed the best process fit for your organization. The final pillar is sustainability. All too often, I hear organizations struggle and proclaim that Agile is an all-or-nothing proposition. This thinking is not true and is actually quite destructive. It is the organization's responsibility to outline how they will adopt Agile and step in at a pace that is well-defined and sustainable for all involved. In February 2001, a group of Agile enthusiasts got together to discuss how they can make an impact on the Agile community as a whole by defining a set of core values that we all agreed upon regardless of the finite process we selected to use with regard to the project management. They began, "We are uncovering better ways of developing software by doing it and helping others do it." Let's pause there for a moment. While at one point it was specific in its defined use for software development, after personally working with 43 of the Fortune 100 companies, I have quickly discovered that these principles do indeed scale well past the confines of software design and development. Let's continue. Through this work, we have come to value individuals and interactions over processes and tools. If we make our primary focus the people who are doing the work and provide them with the atmosphere and the work environment where they can openly interact, our focus can be on removing obstacles that stand in their way, thereby better ensuring their success. We should focus on the people and their environment more than we worry about the nuts and bolts of the process or what tools they use to do Agile better. Working software over comprehensive documentation. While having some documentation is needed on any project, the focus should be placed on producing the best possible outcome for the end consumer. This brings us to customer collaboration over contract negotiation. While having an Agile contract in place remains important, leaders are learning to focus more on the people who use their product or service and less on the wording in a single written document. Finally, responding to change over following a plan. It was Eisenhower who said, "Plans are useless, but planning is indispensable." We should accept that the only certain thing about a project is that the project will indeed change. We should always stay focused and be prepared for what's coming next. When you think about the central focus of your project, the real difference between traditional project management and Agile project management shines through. In traditional or waterfall plan-driven project management, we are expected to maintain a strict timeline and budget while being able to accurately predict what was going to be in a project long term. This left us in many cases exceeding our allotted time requirement with almost certain cost overrun. The worst part of all was when we discovered that what we built was not even remotely close to what the end recipient needed or desired. Using an Agile approach or a value, vision-driven model, we changed the primary focus of our attention. While cost is still locked in as a value we should not exceed, we pay the closest attention to the features we are building and leverage short time frames in order to maximize the value of what we deliver. Respectively, if we look at this diagram and consider that the letters in the center represent the months of the year, January, February, March, etc., using the top waterfall approach, we spend months up front trying to determine what the consumer may actually want, need, or desire. We spend very little time contemplating design and infrastructure. We then turn the project over to a multinational team to build. They do the best they can for several months, only to discover on code delivery date that what they have built does not fit well with what each of the other teams have built. We bring in our best and brightest to do some subsystem testing to figure out where the differences reside and finally achieve an unstable initial build. We run this barely stable code over to the quality group with only minutes remaining and say, test this, go, go. As you might expect, the results are not so great, and at minimum are far less than what we had hoped for. There are 3 core reasons why businesses and ultimately consumers benefit from using an Agile approach. 1, the frequent opportunity to inspect and adapt the work. Instead of waiting several weeks for a big bang deliverable in the end, Agile teams focus on delivering value every 1 to 4 weeks. 2, faster time to market. If something is built, vetted, and tested all in a single cycle, there is no reason why we cannot deliver this to the customer early and see immediate value. 3, increased quality through use of automated regression testing. Instead of focusing on the manual testing needed to pass each work set, Agile encourages us to focus on building automated tests to help ensure that any new development does not break something that was pre-existing. In other words, not only are we delivering just-in-time features that the consumer actually desires, but we are also focusing on high-quality features that work the first time. One common pitfall we make when it comes to Agile estimation is allowing our focus to be on the exact deliverable too early in the process. The expectations of management are clarity, transparency, and truth. When we promise what I like to call exactimates too early in the process, we are setting them up for time-based discussions that are argumentative and often wrong. If we learn to focus our attention more on the outcome and less on the output, we will have the true estimates that are clear, universal, and predictable. The easiest way to describe this is to picture yourself at the beginning of a very long tunnel or corridor. If I asked you how many steps it would take to reach the end, your guess would most likely be incorrect. And the more I insist that you be precise, the more frustrating this futile exercise would become. By allowing you to incrementally advance through the tunnel and give me updates as you progress, your estimate would be considerably better and forecasting would become easier as you progress. This can be likened to a more agile approach. Another often overlooked realism in project management is determining a realistic workload and output for any team. The truth is that there is really no limit placed on the number of requests a stakeholder can make to any team. This creates a funnel or backlog of work that grows in age as the team is unable to keep up with the number of requests. For example, if the team can consistently deliver an output of 4 to 6 stories per week, and the stakeholders continue to request 10 new stories every week, the team will soon not deliver items of value, become demotivated, and eventually burn out. This is the same in theory as shoving more paper into an already full printer trying to get it to print faster, or forcing more cars onto an already crammed highway. It just doesn't work. The only solution is for the product owner to leverage the word no in order to keep the number of requests in line with the actual amount that the team can complete in any given period. The term velocity is often used and less often understood in the Agile community. Velocity can be as simple as counting the number of stories an average, stable team can complete in a single 2-week sprint. It can also be a measurement based on the total relative complexity units a team can deliver over the course of any 2-week period. Over time, this number should stabilize and is not intended to be a unit of comparison between any group of teams or individuals. To help us draw a complete picture when it comes to estimation, story size is estimated using units like story points. Team velocity is measured. This is the number of story points a stable team can complete in any given 2-week period. Duration is derived. Based on Team A's ability to complete 20 story points per 2-week sprint, it will take about 3 2-week sprints for that team to complete a 60-point project. At a recent Agile conference, I was asked to give people from varying roles across the entire Agile community one piece of advice regarding Agile forecasting. I responded, Agile does not mean that we should increase output. Agile embraces focusing on the correct outcome. We do this while producing as little output as possible. Agile organizations focus on producing the best possible outcome while producing as little output as possible. This is where the end consumer finds the greatest happiness. While in theory, this sounds perfect and wonderful in every way, the truth is it requires some balancing. The product owner encourages that we build the right thing. The Agile team spends great focus on building the thing right. And the Scrum Master or Agile coach may be pushing for you to build it faster. Each one of these is equally important and warrants careful attention. If we lose focus on any one of the 3 listed, the end product is potentially a disaster. It is important for us to continually try to find the sweet spot where all 3 intersect. The closer and more frequent conversations are between key stakeholders, the team, and the product owner, the larger the sweet spot becomes and the easier it is for us to achieve our goals. Decreases in communication or spreading the team further apart makes the spot grow smaller and much harder to hit the target. The goal for Agile estimation success is to be able to understand and best determine when it is most important for you to be precise and when being just accurate is more than enough. Let me start by pointing out that accuracy in itself is not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing at all. In many cases, this is called for and is enough to satisfy the direction we are taking with regard to the product or service deliverable. At other times in the process, we are required to be more accurate. When we are in the earlier stages of Agile planning, including visioning, road mapping, and even release planning, being accurate is often what is needed in order to stay high level and keep us on track. In Agile, we reserve the right to be precise until we reach sprint planning or our daily accountability meeting. These are the times when precision is both important and a must in order to achieve Agile estimation success. The largest point of confusion of any organization doing Agile is understanding of time-based versus relative complexity estimates. Many studies have shown that as part of being human, our ability to use time to estimate duration is very weak and is more often incorrect than correct. Simply stated, time-based estimation was truly never intended for people to use when forecasting for large initiatives. In fact, the larger the product or project, the worse our time-based estimates become. Just ask yourself a simple question to prove this theory. Take a look around you in the room you're seated in today. How long would it take for you to paint all of the walls in this room bright red? Be honest. The truth is, you really don't know that answer. In fact, if we ask 10 people who are all seated in the same room with you, we would likely end up with up to 10 different estimates. Each of us possesses a different tool set and has different skill sets when it comes to performing this trade. The actual complexity of painting the walls in this very room never changes, nor does the size of the walls to be painted. The only thing that changes is the person doing the job. We need to learn to focus on the size or complexity of the job and focus less on the individual who will be doing the job in order to achieve a much better, more predictable estimate. Many teams and organizations have adopted this planning poker method of determining the size of the work they are preparing to complete. While this method can be effective if properly instituted, most teams wait until too late in their process to apply this practice, or often still get confused over the use of numbers. Many groups wind up trying to tie the numbers back to some unit of time, and then our estimates are right back where we started. They are time-based and incorrect. We should consider using something simple, like a basic t-shirt size instead of a number. This allows us to truly focus on a relative size or complexity of the work and focus less on the duration or time-based model. We can still use the numbers to represent a t-shirt size, but the numbers do not reflect any passage of time. They are only used to compare size or scope, one story to another. Successful Agile teams master this practice. Now that we have thoroughly reviewed techniques to assist in your Agile estimation process, the question is, are you prepared as an organization to take action and make this happen? We need to work together towards these common goals in order to make the path ahead a great success. I would like to take a moment to thank each of you for taking the time to attend this presentation and encourage you to review the Agile 12-Step program to further assist you in your Agile adoption process. Be safe, be productive, and be Agile. I'm Lee Henson. Thank you and goodbye.